welcome to another one of my story time videos. And here today we are talking about hospital bills. So I just got my hospital bill yesterday from my heart surgery. Now, when I say heart surgery, it sounds like a big major surgery, and I was probably in the hospital for months, and it cost all this money, and they split me open. They did not split me open. They actually went in through my groin. I was only in the hospital for a total of 8 hours. I showed up at 11. It took 2 hours to prep me, so I was just in the prep room for 2 hours. My surgery was from 1 until 4. My actual surgery was only 3 hours. And then I was in the hospital after that, recovering from 4 until 8, laying flat in this room. And then I was discharged. So I was only in the hospital for a total of about 8 or 9 hours. The bills that I just received, I received 3 separate bills. One is for $65, pretty good. One is for $2,381. That is my doctor's fees. Actually, that's after insurance. That bill is actually $3,012. Keep in mind, this is all before insurance. This bill is for $111,484 for 8 hours in the hospital. So keep in mind that my surgery was only 3 hours and it didn't even work. They didn't even fix me. They went in and tried to create some things happening in my heart, and then if those happened, then they would go and fix me. Well, those happened, but they couldn't sustain them, so they didn't fix me. So if I were to not have health insurance, I would be paying almost $130,000, $120,000. Luckily, I do have insurance. I do have really shitty insurance, pardon my German, but I do have insurance and I have an out-of-pocket maximum. So I am not paying that, I am paying a fraction of that, which is good, but I am still paying a lot of money. Also, imagine if I didn't have insurance and I needed the surgery, $120,000. So I started looking through the bill, and so at first I looked through my doctor's bill. And my doctor's bill is just his services. So $3,000 for his 3 hours of work. Not too bad. He's a heart doctor and he's an electrophysiologist, so he's actually a subspecialist. I do not have any problem paying a doctor $3,000 for a surgical procedure. Totally cool. Then I look at this major bill. So everything is itemized and it tells you vaguely what the itemized things are. So I have drugs IV solutions. I assume IV solutions just mean the saline they put in there before they start real drugs. So it was $383 for nothing to be pumped into my veins. Then there are non-sterile supplies, which, why are they using non-sterile supplies on me? That was $866. I assume that means maybe like the warm blankets they gave me, or I don't even know really what that means, non-sterile supplies. Sterile supplies are almost $10,000, which, great, things are sterile, I'd want things to be sterile. But $10,000, I don't know what kind of supplies they were using. I assume maybe that means like the sticky pads they put on me during surgery. I don't know. Then there's a second charge for sterile supplies, which is $18,569. I don't know what kind of supplies they were using. I don't know if this is the machinery. However, there are also 2 separate charges for the cath lab. So there's a $22,000 charge and a $17,000 charge for the cath lab, which is actually where they did my procedure. So I assume that covers all of the equipment, which would be everything that I'm hooked up to, and the bed and the monitors and all of that. Crazy expensive, but okay, this equipment is expensive, whatever. So then I have 2 anesthesia charges. The funny thing is that I didn't have general anesthesia. I didn't have a breathing tube. They anesthetized me through my IV. So not only do I have an IV solutions charge, don't worry, I'm going to get to the further drugs charges. Then I have an anesthesia charge. So that may be for the anesthesiologist. That was $4,000. And a separate anesthesia charge for $2,800. Then I have 6 separate charges for drugs. No idea what these mean. One is $168, 2 are $110, one is $880, sorry, 3 are $110, and the last one is $15,000 for drugs. First of all, I had no drugs pre-surgery. I did have anesthesia in my IV during surgery to help sedate me. And then they also used some drugs to get my heart to race, to try to start the rhythm. And they also used, I think propofol was the drug they used to sedate me. So there's minimal amount of drugs involved there. Then after surgery, I had 1 shot of fentanyl and 1 shot of an anti-nausea medication because the fentanyl made me nauseous. So essentially I got charged over $20,000 for drugs. Who knows what those drugs are? Oh, I did also get 2 Tylenol before I left the hospital, and I'm assuming that's one of the $100 charges. Or maybe the $168 because there were 2 of them. Makes sense. Here's my favorite part. My recovery room. I was in recovery for 4 hours in my room. Keep in mind, this was not the room that I started in. This was actually a separate room. My room was about a 12-foot by 6-foot cubicle in a giant recovery room that was separated by curtains. No room, no door. It was literally my bed and the machines with curtains around it. I couldn't have more than 2 people in at a time because it was so small, and then the nurse couldn't fit in there. Like I said, I was in there for 4 hours. They gave me a dry turkey sandwich and some juice. There was no TV, there was like, it wasn't even a room, and the charge for that is $18,000. $18,000, that's $2,500 an hour for a room that wasn't even a room. And that doesn't even count the equipment that's in the room. That's a separate charge. And I wasn't hooked up to anything crazy. I was hooked up to a blood pressure monitor and a heart monitor and an oxygen monitor, like the little thing in the corner, and like a little IV, and that was it. My issue is not with the insurance. The insurance is whatever. My insurance is shitty because I can't afford to have good insurance, which is a whole separate issue. My issue is these charges. Like, what? How are you charging people? It's robbery. Like, it's to sound like an old-ass 87-year-old man. It's highway robbery that these prices are being charged. I cannot even imagine what a hospital bill looks like for somebody that has inpatient surgery, for somebody that is in a coma, or somebody even that has a surgery. My sister just had a C-section for her babies, and she had to be in the hospital for 5 days, and her 2 twins were preemies, so they were both in the NICU, and who knows how long they'll be in there. Again, luckily she has insurance. But there's lots of Americans, millions of Americans, that are uninsured, and people are having to pay this out of pocket. And a lot of my followers that are not from America are asking, how are Americans affording this? And the answer is they're not. They're filing bankruptcy, and they're losing everything they own, and they're living on the streets because they can't afford simple healthcare charges. That's not normal. You should be able to go to a doctor when you are sick and be taken care of and not bankrupt yourself. So I know this video is really ranty, but when I got this in the mail, like, my brain exploded because I just couldn't believe what they're trying to charge people for such minimal care. Here's my proposal. My proposal is that yes, healthcare and health insurance is so important, and we definitely need to lobby for that and call our senators and all of that. But along with that, which goes hand in hand, is that you don't need great insurance if you're not being charged $100,000 for nothing. So we need to start lobbying whoever's in charge of making these prices. I don't even know enough about this because I've always been on the healthcare side of it, the insurance side of it, and not actually looking at why we're being charged all of this. So we need to lobby for fair prices. It's so funny because when I shared this bill, people were like, oh, doctors get paid too much, they get paid more than teachers. Doctors should be paid a lot. Doctors go to school, doctors have lots of student loans, doctors do internships, and they do studies, and they go to conventions, and they do all these things to give us good care, and they should be paid for that. $3,000 for a heart surgery is nothing to pay a doctor. That's not the problem. The problem is what the hospitals and what these companies that are supplying drugs and supplying equipment are charging hospitals. So I don't know. I know this video isn't super funny or entertaining, but I just felt like this was insane and I had to share it with the world because what the fuck? Like, seriously, this is crazy. We need to fix it. We need to make it better. We need to do better. We need to do better for people that need healthcare and that are dying and going bankrupt and living on the streets because they can't afford to have their appendix out or whatever other stupid thing. And here's my favorite part. Today I get in the mail a letter from Cedars-Sinai, which is the hospital I had this done at, saying that they would love for me to join their circle of friends, which means that I honor somebody that works at the hospital by giving them a circle of friends lapel to wear proudly around the hospital because they've done such a great job. Awesome, totally into that. However, to get this lapel, you have to make a generous donation to the hospital. And then, not only is this typed out, but then it is handwritten. It says, Cherokee, will you make a gift of $25 or more? To which I say, No, I will not. I'm paying you $120,000 already and you have the nerve? Are you freaking serious with this? Like, I seriously like wanted to take this into my front yard and light it on fire. So, good job, Cedars. Good job. So anyways, with that being said, I'm wearing a lipstick dress with matching lipstick earrings. Alright, that's all I got. I hope you guys are well. If you guys have anything to add to this, please do in the comments below. If you guys have any way to help or anybody to lobby or call or email or whatever, please add that in the comments below as well because I'm really, really interested in trying to fix this system. I wish I had $1 billion so I could just pay people to make it happen, but I do not. So anyways, I hope you guys are well. Thank you guys for watching and I will see you next time and I promise less ranting. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. Be sure to check out these other videos that I have posted to see more of my wackiness. And if you want to see even more of my wackiness, be sure to subscribe for all things that are vintage and retro and general silliness.